So I just watched Frankenstein, which hasn't technically come out yet, but they did a special screening at the Chinese theater. My first time going to the Chinese theater. 10 out of 10. Awesome, awesome theater. Beautiful. The energy was electric, really fun. The movie wasn't a 10 out of 10, but I did like it. You have to understand, Frankenstein is my favorite book ever, period, and has been for 13 years or so. So I was very excited for this adaptation. A lot of Frankenstein stories don't make an attempt to even adapt the book. It's more just the concept and they take it in their own direction. This was an attempt to adapt the book, and I think it was an interesting adaptation. It was done by Guillermo del Toro, and what a match made in heaven from an aesthetic standpoint. I mean, the costumes, the sets, the character designs, the aesthetic, everything was immaculate all the way through. Beautiful, gorgeous, in a very gothic, perfect sense. I mean, it was perfect. I can say nothing against anything about that. That was just so visually delightful. I mean, there's this beautiful horror to the way it's done that was perfect visually. The story of the creature was the strongest. I mean, they practically made him a Disney princess. There's this sweet primal innocence and childlike wonder to him that was beautifully portrayed. The pacing of that segment was good, masterfully done, easily the highlight of the movie. I also think the movie achieved the difficult task of adapting the unique framing device of the book in a compelling way. So one of my favorite things about the book is that it's kind of a story within a story within a story, right? There is the story of this Arctic explorer trying to find the North Pole that finds Frankenstein in the Arctic, and then Frankenstein then tells his story, and then within Frankenstein's story, the creature tells his story, right? There's like 3 layers of narrative there. The framing of that has always stuck with me. It's one of my favorite parts of the book. In the movie, they pay homage to that structure, but they rearrange it. They have Frankenstein tell his story to the Arctic explorer, but then the creature comes in and tells his own story directly. It was a good choice adaptationally, and it keeps the narrative pretty clear. The Arctic parts work. I mean, they changed it in a way that I think was cinematically more effective and worked it into the themes of the overall movie pretty well. I think the creature parts work. The glaring issues are all on Frankenstein's end, which is unfortunate because that's most of the movie. They make a lot of adaptational changes to his story, which is fine. Some that work, some that don't. Some are small, and some are so foundational that they changed the theme of the whole movie. The first glaring difference is his upbringing and family. In the book, Frankenstein has a positive relationship with a lot of people. He has a loving family, he has friends, he has a perfect fiancée, and then in his obsessive quest, he destroys the idyllic warmth of his youth. The book is a fall from grace, a paradise lost, if you will. And this movie seems determined to poison his every relationship at the onset. Instead of a noble father that he wants desperately to make proud, his father is abusive. This shifts the theme of the story from sons craving recognition from their fathers to a more break the cycles of abuse and family trauma narrative. On paper, that's okay, but it is part of this massive, radical narrative shift. His love for his younger brother is tainted with resentment. His fiancée is now his brother's fiancée, making his love for her a betrayal of his brother, and sad and messy. I don't like how they played Elizabeth in general. Some of her dialogue was the worst part in the movie where it just felt laughable. She's cold and distant and the opposite of her book counterpart. And they also kind of fused her with several other different characters from the book. She kind of has a connection with the monster in this story. So she's kind of has some sort of relationship with the three most principal characters of the story, which makes it very messy. Every relationship Frankenstein has is now messy from the beginning. He's miserable from the beginning. So the ruining your own happiness through obsession kind of arc gets changed. In its place is a man trying to escape his own misery through obsession, which would be fine. It's a different take, but that would be fine if not for Frankenstein's character. It lacks nuance. They were like, oh, the whole point of the story is Frankenstein's the real monster, so they have to make him cartoonishly evil, and the monster is the real victim, so we have to, like, strip him of all blame in the story. There is much more nuance in the book. Like, the monster is responsible for a lot more things and that are his fault. But no, like everything that that was the monster's fault is now just a blatantly Frankenstein's. Like, Frankenstein kills a couple people in this movie and then blames them. Oh my god. It feels like character assassination, which I think is a mistake, because when you make him that unlikable, it makes his sections kind of difficult to watch, because you need to at least find the character interesting or compelling or likable in some way, because we're following his story for such a big part of the movie. You need to find something interesting about him, and then he falls, and then that, but like from the beginning, he's an ass. Like, the scenes with him are not bad, but because he's not likable, you don't really care. So you don't care about those scenes, which is a problem, because it's a big part of the movie. It's a shame, because one, I adore Frankenstein's character in the book. His story is one of my favorite depictions of obsession, or I should say artistic obsession, in any media ever. And two, the changes they made had the potential to be very interesting. Now I'm going to get into spoilers. In the book, when Frankenstein initially reanimates the monster and looks upon the monster alive for the first time, he is horrified by the grotesqueness of what he's created and runs away and doesn't see the monster until he goes and finds him again. Me and my friends discussing the novel have always wondered, like, what if he stayed? What if he raised the monster? And I think that question interested Guillermo del Toro, because he almost did that. In this one, first of all, the monster is not grotesque enough for people to run away. Like, he looks kind of human. I mean, some of the characters in the movie are like, oh, it's not even human. He just looks like a big human with some scars. He's not very grotesque looking. So instead, what the story decides to do is have Victor Frankenstein actually not run from the monster and briefly, like, take care of it. And that segment I was deeply interested in, because this felt like an exploration of my own what ifs surrounding that story. The consequence of doing it that way, of course, is it made his behavior with the monster so deplorable and, like, outrageously evil. Because in the book, he runs away, and his, like, cruelty of the monster is more a thing of neglect, of him not acknowledging that what his creation, right? And this, it's just straight up abuse, and abuse immediately. We have, like, maybe 2 minutes of him treating the monster in a way that makes a level of sense before it just kind of degrades into man-child ridiculous behavior, which, that's the way the story wanted to take it. It doesn't answer my questions because that's not the Frankenstein of the book. There's similarities, but they it's a different character. The ending is somewhat softer than in the book. The creature forgives Frankenstein, and then Frankenstein dies, and then the monster kind of wanders off into the sunset. Due to the way they structured the plot, Frankenstein hasn't really done anything deserving of any forgiveness. So it rings kind of hollow, that whole sequence at the end where he's like, "Say my name the way you used to say it." But like Victor never was always annoyed by that. So I don't know, it doesn't read the way the narrative wants it to, I think. But that's a minor thing. I did think when he was walking into the sunset, the creature, I half expected him to like find Frankenstein's like sled dogs and get on the sled and sled with husky dogs into the sunset. I was almost disappointed that wasn't the ending because I was like, what about the dogs? They left the dogs in the snow. You gotta go back for them, which actually fits the themes that this story tries to pull pretty well. So honestly, he should have taken the dogs. That's my big hot take of this movie. With all the things I said, I still liked it. It's not a bad adaptation. It has problems, but I adore that story so much. I'm just glad to see a version of it on screen, and a version that is legitimately trying to be an adaptation of the book. There's certain choices that I think worked well, like the way it rearranged certain events and condensed certain events in many respects worked. It skipped over a lot of things, and in many cases in a way that made sense cinematically. But, it's well acted, it's well presented, there's a lot going for it. I feel less betrayed than I feared I would be. Anyway, what did you think of Frankenstein, the book, or the new movie? It will be coming out, I think, on Netflix next month or something like that. So, worth a watch if you like it, that sort of thing. If you like this review, do subscribe. And for those following, a new chapter of my book has just come out. Bone Song, Diary of a Sentient Sword. I release 2 chapters a week for free. Happy reading. Take care.